Welcome to the Movies to Watch Before You Die podcast. I am your host, Dylan, along with my cousin and co-host,
Gab.
And today we are talking about a movie that I have nominated as a movie to watch before you die. It is the 2002 comedy Orange County. Gab, why don't you do me a favor here and tell the people why they're listening to us, Gab.
Well,
Peeps,
we're a lot of fun. We're a barrel of laughs. We have some knowledge, we have some experience, but most importantly, we've been doing this for a long time now. So we kind of have the formula down. We've got the little sound bites. We make you laugh, we make you cry, we make you think. Sometimes you write us emails. And basically, we are just two of the best people on the planet, as far as I'm concerned.
And sometimes you cry when we mean to make you laugh, and sometimes you laugh when we mean to make you cry. And, you know, we are two of the people on the planet. So
now that we all know what we have in common,
Gab, why did you tell the people what is today's movie Orange County about?
What's this all been about? What am I working toward?
You think you know everything about me, don't you?
I bet you're bottom. I bloody well ought to.
I mean, it's not really about much. Orange County is a movie about a young man with dreams of going to Stanford University. By the way, this movie taught me that it is Stanford, not Stamford. I thought it was Stanford.
There is a location called Stamford. So there's Stanford, like Connecticut.
Yeah. I think that's what confused me. But he is a young man. He is a high school senior. He has dreams of going to Stanford University. He applies, is denied, as it turns out, because his guidance counselor sent the wrong transcripts. So it is a story of him trying to right this wrong.
Probably a little wordier than our IMDb plot synopsis, but let's see what they have to say. A guidance counselor. Huh?
I said maybe not.
You're right. It turns out this IMDb plot summary is the entire script. No. A guidance counselor mistakenly sends out the wrong transcripts to Stanford University under the name of an overachieving high schooler. I don't think that's a great plot summary. I think
I think mine's better.
Well, I think both yours is longer, so like obviously it should be better. But like I think if you're going to give this a one-word sentence, this puts way too much focus on the guidance counselor, so the guidance counselor is like the main character.
Yeah. Although
what?
We love Lily Tomlinson.
Lily Tomlin.
Sorry.
That sounds like now the love child of her and LaDainian Tomlinson, the football player, but whatever.
Oh, Dylan, how do you feel about the Taylor Swift Travis Kelce thing?
I'm glad you asked. I hate it. And it's polluting my football watching. And you know what? Because the NFL is trying so hard to capitalize that they're like changing their Twitter to like the Chiefs are 2-0 since the Swifties joined. And I'm like, stop it. Be you. Just be the NFL and let Taylor Swift be there. That's fine. But you know what? On Sunday, I'm like watching the game and every commercial for Sunday Night Football is Taylor Swift, welcome to New York, because the Chiefs are playing the Jets. And I'm like, oh, how unfortunate that this applies so well to this game tonight. Like, why couldn't the Chiefs be playing like the fucking Raiders? Like, it wouldn't matter.
So that's really interesting. Has the NFL done this before where like other celebrities have kind of been, or is Taylor Swift so popular that they are choosing to like really milk it?
Taylor Swift is in the midst of, I believe, the highest grossing concert tour ever.
Yeah, although she didn't take any of my fucking money, unfortunately.
Well, she didn't get any of mine either, if it makes you feel better.
It doesn't, but okay.
It just feels like the NFL is trying to capitalize on the major stardom for what they, I'm sure, assume is a market that they have not captured. And it's just like, you know, NFL social media, don't act like you're a real person. You are the most calculated thing in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It also just very easily contributes to like NFL conspiracy theories, because the Chiefs won against the Jets, who they're much better than the Jets, but like they got a real wishy-washy holding call. And I'm very anti-Jets, but people were like, I think they just got that call because the NFL wants to see the Chiefs win.
Yeah. I mean, that could totally be. Like, it's a money-making machine at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't really matter who wins or loses as long as they keep making money. I do think that it's very calculated on both ends. I think it's just a money-making machine for both of them, as well as, you know, the NFL. And
I see it much more on the NFL side, though, than like Taylor Swift. I don't think like a bunch of football fans are like, you know what I should do? Listen to Taylor Swift. Like, I don't think anybody like, maybe there's, I guess, some diehard Chiefs fans who are like, we got to support Taylor now that she supports us. But I don't think it's likely.
But I think like when you get to that level of stardom, the more people that are Googling you, even if you're Googling for like just to make a meme, right? Like I Google Taylor Swift and I go to images to like find a picture to put a meme on to send to my friend. Like I think you make money the more eyes are on you. You know what I mean? Like I just think there's so much to capitalize on from having like a new audience, just even typing your name into Google. I could be wrong, but I just don't see how she's not making money off of it. Or, you know, more like wives are watching the NFL and then therefore like husbands are listening to Taylor Swift. You know what I mean? Like who knows?
Yes. And there is no such thing as bad publicity. And it's bringing a lot of publicity to both the Chiefs, to the NFL, to Taylor Swift.
Right. But I also think that Travis Kelce is doing this really interesting thing where he's trying to like present as wholesome, but I think he's a dirtbag. Like I think deep down he's gross.
I am not a fan of Travis Kelce. And that's not just because I'm a massive Patriots fan. So therefore, any talk of him being like the greatest tight end ever, I'm like, no, he's not the greatest tight end ever. He's a glorified wide receiver, yada, yada, yada. But he just seems like kind of a male bimbo. He's a mimbo.
Right. And I feel like I love Taylor Swift, and I've grown to love Taylor Swift even more as I've gotten older. And I think like there was like a very profound moment in my life where I got the COVID booster and I was really sick in bed. And I was just like, I'm going to listen to Taylor Swift. And like a lot of like, it was sort of like this, like, oh my God, this person gets me. And then like from then on, I've been like, I just love her, and like going through a divorce and like kind of being on my own for a while and, you know, figuring out like who I was. Like it just a lot. It was just very timely for me. So I love her. But I just feel like he is not the guy for her. Like, I just think he's gross. I think he has bad intentions, and I know nothing about him. I'm just going based on the mustache. No offense to anybody with a mustache, but he just looks like he's in it for the money and the attention. And like, he's going to not actually like be a good man. And I really think she deserves somebody who's like nice and normal, because all things considered, like she's pretty nice. Like she's very nice and she's very normal.
At the same time, nobody forced Taylor Swift into the situation. So I think she knows what she's doing. I think she chooses these relationships that will end and she will write another great album off of.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, listen, every so often you gotta play the wild card. So we'll see. If I get an album out of it, I get an album out of it. But I'll tell you what, I better get tickets to the next tour or I'm gonna riot. I'm just gonna riot.
Gab, if you want to talk something more interesting NFL related, let's talk about the fact that it's probably like 2 weeks ago now, maybe 3 weeks ago, the Sunday Funday Toy Story NFL game. Did you see this?
No, but I no, I'm going to say
the game was live animated into being in Andy's room from Toy Story, and the players were animated as like action figures.
While it was happening live?
Yeah. They apparently had like motion capture in the shoulder pads of the players. And like, I will say, Gab, sometimes it worked perfectly. And, you know, you could see the quarterback running and it was like, oh, wow, that's really impressive. Other times, you know, there's an offensive lineman standing who shouldn't be standing. And like 3 out of 4 of the offensive linemen look like they're having a seizure as they're just shaking around. Like, and you're like, what is happening? The kicker's kicking the ball and it like never touches his foot, but it goes through. It was interesting. It also felt like it would have been so much better if there weren't the SAG-AFTRA strikes going on, because if you could have had like any one of the voice actors say anything, it would have been cool. Because like every time there's a touchdown, Woody's dancing in the end zone, and you're like, no, he's got nothing to say. Okay.
Yeah. Right. That's so crazy. So was there an option if it was like your team? Was there an option to like watch just the regular game, or did you have to watch it as
a good
Andy's
question,
room?
Gab? You can only watch, and maybe that's just in America, you could only watch the live actual version on ESPN Plus, which, you know, I'm not paying for ESPN Plus. So I watched on Disney Plus, which I do pay for, the Toy Story version, because it was the morning and I was working and it was on in the background. So
yeah. Wow. That's crazy. You know, they did something similar with the CrossFit Games this year, where like the last day of competition where you find out who wins, they were like, it's only on ESPN Plus. So I had to pay for like 1 day of ESPN Plus, and it killed me.
I thought you meant they turned the people into Toy Story characters. I was like,
oh no, I wish that would have been great. That's crazy.
Like, God, from what I know about CrossFit from the last documentary, they don't wear enough to put motion capture in it.
No, they ain't wearing anything. That is for sure. Yeah. How the hell did we get here?
Well, I'm going to circle it back right now. So I think the more appropriate IMDb plot summary would have been a student, after a mistake by his guidance counselor will do anything to get into Stanford and is held back and helped by the wacky family around her. Like it needs to have some emphasis on his family and his friends because that's a very important part of the movie. But
yeah,
I digress. Do you want to hear the tagline for Orange County? Just the one tagline.
Oh, interesting. This is 2 weeks in a row now. We've only had one tagline.
I think I appreciate one tagline. It shows a confidence that it's like, we don't need to do 17 of these.
Well, let's hear it. We'll decide.
It's not just a place. It's a state of mind.
Okay.
I'm waiting for the day where I give you a tagline. You're like, that's amazing. Because I don't think it's ever happened.
No. I just don't care for taglines. They're all cheesy to me.
All right. Before we get to opinion time, if I guess we want to get a little more in depth about it. Orange County is about Sean Brumder, who is a student in obviously Orange County, the eponymous Orange County. And he is so obsessed with going to Stanford because he's obsessed with this writer who is a professor there, Marcus Skinner, and he believes if he goes to Stanford University, he will become the writer, become the person he wants to be. And his guidance counselor who tells him, you got nothing to worry about. You don't need to apply to a safety school. Just apply to Stanford. You're a shoo-in.
You're a shoo-in, yep.
Because he's like a genius. He's got like a 1520 on his SATs out of 1600 at the time. Like he is really qualified. But the problem is he gets his denial letter and finds out that it was not his transcript that was submitted. It was Shane Brainerd's instead of Sean Brumder, who had like a 2 GPA, which was not good enough for Stanford. So it now becomes him trying to find his way into Stanford, which, you know, it seems like there's going to be so many simpler routes. And it just, you know, over time becomes more and more complicated, and he has to go further and further to try and get in. And, you know, we'll tell you more spoilers during our opinions, but I guess I would just say that by the end, slight spoiler, it doesn't matter if he goes to Stanford or not, is sort of the moral. Do you think we should go to opinion time?
I do.
In this critic's opinion,
you know, that's just like your opinion, man.
Well, I have a right to my opinion, and my opinion is you have no right to your opinion.
This movie is very early 2000s, which I typically really enjoy because that's like my era. And I think, is this Colin Hanks's debut?
No, I mean, I'd have to I don't even have to double check that. I'm certainly sure it's not his first movie, but for me, it's the first thing I ever remember seeing him in.
Yeah. We've got Jack Black as his fuck up brother,
who is the star of the movie. Like, as far as comedy goes, he is the comedic engine.
It gave me Arrested Development vibes. Do you know what I mean?
That's not necessarily a bad thing. Now, Gav, I just want to, this is breaking news here. Colin Hanks, do you know what his debut was?
I mean, I just told you.
You don't.
No, yeah.
Orange County turns out is the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th thing he ever did, according to his IMDb. Okay. The first thing he did, he was a male page in That Thing You Do.
Oh, I knew that. I think we talked about that in that episode.
Maybe we did, but I think that's cool. I'm like, oh, okay.
Wow.
Where were we? Because I feel like I
love Colin Hanks. Arrested Development. It gave Arrested Development vibes, which I love. Arrested Development. Do you?
It makes sense with the family. I haven't watched it since I was like a kid when it was on like TV at the time, but I did enjoy it at the time.
It's so good. I think what's his face with the voice. Oh my god, I'm blanking.
Will Arnett?
Yes, Will Arnett is just not revered enough, personally. I love him. So it gave me Arrested Development vibes, which I'm very in for. And I think there are 2 moments in particular that actually made me like really laugh out loud, like very hard.
Okay, do tell. I mean, that's pretty good.
I almost want to make you guess, but I just feel like they're so obscure you're not going to get it. So I won't make you guess. But I'll say this.
I'll attempt to guess one because there's one moment that I think is fucking hysterical.
Okay.
Ashley, when she first finds out that Sean didn't get into Stanford, is like, listen, my friend Tanya, her grandpa is on the board of directors or whatever for Stanford. I will convince her. And she goes, if I have to reveal a secret of yours, Tanya, I will. And it becomes this montage of like, I guess, embarrassing Tanya hookups that start with like she hooked up with, her friend's little brother at a party. And it's like, okay. And it has this same musical sting each time that like tells you like it's about to happen. And like it gets way funnier when their friend Lonnie, it's his memorial, and she's making out with two of Lonnie's friends. And then it's remember prom, and it's her making out with the fucking janitor at the prom after clearly just throwing up all over the toilet. But by your face, I can tell that was not it, Gab.
No,
so
that
why
was
don't
not it.
I should not have tried? Why don't you tell me?
So there are two. When Tanya's grandpa does come to the house with his wife, and the family like just totally disgusts them. So the grandparents of Tanya leave, and he's chasing them, and he's like, please God, like just please, I'll do anything. And the guy's like, listen, you're gross, your family's gross, I'm not helping you, watch your fingers. And he says, watch your fingers, and he rolls up the window and drives away. And I guess this character who currently lives in Orange County, California, it must be like a Jewish New Yorker who retired there, because watch your fingers is such a specific and esoteric comment that I haven't heard since I was a little kid.
I'm going to tell you more about who that person is in just a second, but that is a great moment because you also he slides the window up and you just hear Sean's fingers sliding on the window, just that.
Yep. Now, but it's just the way that he's like, da-da-da, you're gross, you're disgusting, you're never going to Stanford. Watch your fingers.
Now, the person who is saying that is, he's famously a director. His name is Gary Marshall. Do you know what he directed?
God. Yeah, I do, because I saw it and I was like, oh my God, that's my Lindsay Lohan movie.
Don't hit me with fish. It's Georgia Rule.
Hit me with fish. It's Georgia Rule.
I can't believe how often things connect to that fucking movie.
I know, that movie is so good. It's crazy because I saw Gary Marshall and I was like, that's weird. That guy has the same name as the director. But then like I never would have thought it was him, because I would have figured like Gary Marshall would have been younger than that, because he looks old in 2002.
Yes, he was. There's another famous director who makes an appearance in the movie that's pretty funny too. Harold Ramis is the dean of Stanford that they end up hanging out with, and he's pretty great too.
Yeah. So that was the first moment that made me laugh out loud. The second moment, if I may,
go ahead,
was he's in the pool, and Jack Black jumps in to save him or something, and he does this like little pathetic little like kick thing. He like cannonballs and does this like thing with his legs, and that made me laugh out loud.
Interesting, because I thought you were going to say it's him. Jack Black spends probably like 40 to 50% of this movie in his tighty whities, and
which by the way I don't particularly think is funny.
No, but I think it makes sense for the character also. Like I don't think they hang a lot of jokes on like just that
he's in his underwear.
Yeah, like sometimes it's a person's reaction to that, like him coming out while the board of directors from Stanford and his wife are there, and she just is like so shocked by Jack Black in his underwear. But when Jack Black is going to save Sean, who is drowning himself in the pool because like he just got hit with the watch your fingers because he's not getting to Stanford, I think he says, as long as I have a breath in my body, you will never go to Stanford.
Yeah, watch your fingers.
Watch your fingers. But Lance, who is Jack Black's character, is in his tighty whities, and he sees Sean, and he goes, he's got the urge to go in after him, but first he has to take off his socks before he jumps in the pool to save him. It's just a very stupid little moment that I like.
Yeah.
I will also say, I don't think it's like, it's one of those movies that I don't realize is so quotable to me. Like, I don't know why. I feel like I used to all the time quote, probably with Zach, we'll be in the car, picking each other's butts, naked. It's like, it's the dumbest line, but it's memorable because it's so fucking stupid.
Yeah. I'll tell you this. Corey did not get to watch this one with me. Just based on our schedule, I had to watch it alone last night. But he did see it when it came out, and he said he has vivid memories of seeing that movie. He remembers a lot about it. And he goes, I remember Jack Black going, I didn't go to college and look at me. I'm kick-ass. And I was like, that's so weird that you would remember that. But apparently, like, it really stuck with him. And he'll say, I'm kick-ass all the time.
No, there are so many things that Jack Black says that I'm like, I just remember that for no reason.
Yeah.
Like, he's talking about having a t-shirt company, and I just remember the noise he makes when he goes, or a t-shirt that says, I don't know, like he just stops and does this like gibberish while shaking his hands for a second. There's also, it's a line I didn't remember, but it fucking cracks me up. It's the English teacher going, when I say Romeo and Juliet, who comes to mind? The kids are going, Claire Danes, Leonardo DiCaprio. You know, someone else was involved in that movie who in some ways is as famous as Leo DiCaprio. His name's William Shakespeare. And some great movies are based on his plays. Hamlet, West Side Story, The Talented Mr. Ripley, Gladiator, Chocolat. Like, I don't know why. Each time he says a movie and it gets further and further from what would be Shakespeare, it cracked me up. I also, maybe it's like because it's a trailer line, but a line that has stuck with me for 20 years is Jack Black going, what is it that she says to start this? Do you want me to call the police? Do you want me to get naked and start the revolution? It's not a funny line, but it's just the way he responds to her. If you see this movie, you remember that line.
Jack Black was such a cultural, like, cornerstone in the early 2000s.
I think he still is whenever he shows up in something, though. Like, did you not hear that Peaches song everywhere after the Mario movie came out?
What Peaches song?
It's just Jack Black as Bowser going, Peaches, 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 Peaches.
No, I've never heard of that in
You've
my
never
life.
heard this, Gab?
No.
Oh my God. I've heard this.
No.
Look up the Peaches song on YouTube after we're done. It's
Okay,
like a minute of your life.
It's not helping your argument. I feel like Jack Black is at a point now where he's like older, he has his own kids, he's like I think about him like jumping into that Jumanji movie and like whatever, and it's like more like family stuff for his kids versus like when he was like in what was the name of his band? Something with a D.
Tenacious D.
Tenacious D. Yeah.
Tenacious D still
Something
puts
with
out
a D.
music.
That's unfortunate because they shouldn't have been putting out music in the beginning.
Yeah, whatever. I will say, Gab, there was a quote in this movie that made me think of you.
No, what was it?
It is Leslie Mann's character, Bud's wife. I literally wrote Gab on every episode. She goes, Bud's getting so fat. You should really talk to him. He's going to have a heart attack. Plus, he's fat.
Honestly, I was like, yeah, I mean, listen, that's the field I work in, right? Like you can't just be fat and get away with it. And I don't mean that from like, oh, the way you look. It's like you gotta like there are health detriments to this. Which, people don't like to hear that. Anyway, I'm not making myself sound any better, but it is funny. And I think she did such a great job in that little tiny cameo she had. What a star-studded cast, because oh my God, I confessed this to Corey last night, and I'll tell you and everybody listening now, there are two people in this world that I confuse. And I can't quite put my finger on why I confuse them other than their names. And I'm going to tell you who they are right now. Okay. Actually, I'm going to let you guess. The person that I often confuse, one half of the confusion pair, is John Lithgow.
You confuse John Lithgow with somebody?
Yeah. I confuse them for one another.
Who?
You want me to tell you?
Yeah.
Now I forgot his name. It's John Leguizamo.
Gab, those are not remotely similar.
In name only. I'm like, which one is Lord Farquaad and which one's the guy that had the one-man show on Broadway?
John Lithgow could probably have a one-man show on Broadway too.
Yeah, he could, but he did not.
John Lithgow can do anything.
I know, he's great. He was very funny in the role. It did make me think he could have been what's his name? Bluth from Arrested Development. What was the father's name? It wasn't. It was George Bluth.
I know the actor is Jeffrey Tambor. I think it's
George.
But
I think it was George, because then there's George Michael and then Job, who was also George. Yeah.
I will say, I feel like this movie does a really good job of getting into the mindset of what it feels like to be a high school senior, and you think that like the decisions I make now are what is most important for the rest of my life. And I think both you and I can say, like, You didn't know what the fuck you were doing at 17, and what you thought was right was wrong.
Literally before we started recording this podcast, we were having a conversation about work and life and money. And I said to you, I had no idea how important money was going to be.
I will also say, though, it again feels very much like, you can get into the high school mindset by how worried he is about his family at every moment. Like, there are so many quotes right around the time that like the people from Stanford are coming over where it is him talking to his mom or his brother, and it cracks me up. Like, he's saying, this is my last chance to get into Stanford, and the mom just goes, I know, honey, and it's not a good day for me. Like, she's just like, yeah, and Catherine O'Hara is hysterical because there's another line she says that cracks me up. I married Bob for you. I had sex with Bob 4 times for you. And he goes, Mom, money can't buy happiness. Grow up, Sean. Yes, it can.
I mean, fuck, if it can. It's really funny. And like, do you ever find yourself kind of going back to that, like, not worrying about your family, but worrying about like how your family could fuck up your life, like even now as an adult?
I mean, yeah, I guess occasionally.
Yeah, like, it's funny because I did think like, oh my God, I remember when I would be like so worried if somebody was coming over, like, please be normal, don't embarrass me. And then I was like, I remember the first time my parents met Corey and I was 29 or 30. And I was like, please don't embarrass me. I really like him. And it's like, you just go back to being a teenager, or like, just even like, thinking about like the holidays are coming up, you know what I mean? And I'm like, oh my God, like I gotta go hang out with these fucking people who are just gonna like rip through like horrifying memory after horrifying memory.
I have 1,000 times felt like Sean when the people from Stanford are there and the mom is going, and then it turns out he was sleeping around on me. So we got a divorce and I got remarried, and it's just been very hard for me. And he just has this face like, you're doing it. You're doing it. You're sharing more than you need to these people who I didn't want you to. And it's just like, oh no.
It's universal.
Yeah, I think that happens to everyone, where it's like we get embarrassed by our families. And I think this movie does a great job of recontextualizing that family embarrassment into something great by the end. But we'll get into that more in a second. There's one more quote I want to mention because I was like, this is fucking hysterical too. Sean's friends, who, it was him and Lonnie and these other two, Arlo, and I can't remember the other one's name, but Lonnie dies and they're still friends, but he's not a surfer anymore, yada yada. But it's 1 year anniversary of Lonnie's death, the day that the people from Stanford are coming over, and they're there, and Sean says like, you guys got to go. And his friend goes, you don't care about Lonnie? This is his birthday, man. His death birthday. Doesn't that mean anything to you?
That's stupid.
The whole movie does a great job of like showing these characters as stupid in like a very funny way, I think.
You know what's funny, Dill? Remember our last episode we talked about like the people from elementary school, and I said like the girl died in a car accident and she had like a boyfriend, like an elementary school boyfriend, and like,
yes, in 5th grade.
Yeah. And in this movie, Lonnie's girlfriend is like, I'm mourning, and they were like, you dated for like 2 weeks. And I was like, oh, timely.
And they said like sometimes it can take a lifetime to get over something like this. And then they're like, Tanya, you got into Stanford, and she immediately drops her sadness.
She's like, yes. Yeah, I know. That's what I was thinking. I was like, damn.
But this is a movie that is filled with like a lot of stupidity gags. And I think by the end of it, it pulls it in with like a really nice bow of like, it feels like it's a layer of stupidity with some smart underneath it. And I think the character who is there the whole time bringing some level of, I guess, sanity and I guess rationality to it is Ashley, who is Sean's girlfriend, who is nothing but fucking supportive. You know what I mean? And she is the opposite of what his family is. She is this stabilizing force in his life. And she finally confronts him at the end and says, you want to run away. You want to be free of everybody. And you think by coming up here to Stanford, you're going to meet people that are smarter and saner and better. If you went to Stanford, that'd be the end of us. It doesn't seem to me like that thought ever crossed your mind. Sean, I'm sorry you didn't get to Stanford. If you think going here is the only way you can be the person you want to be, then I just feel sorry for you. And it's that line mixed with Sean, who is at Stanford, meets his idol, Professor Skinner, Marcus Skinner, who is played by Kevin Kline in like a scene and a half. that really gives like what is the message of the movie. It's her saying that mixed with Marcus Skinner says, even in a world where people can be superficial and stupid and selfish, there's still hope. And that's that moment where Sean realizes that he was the one being superficial, stupid, and selfish, and that there's still hope for his career as a writer, for his life, that not getting to Stanford isn't the end of everything. And I keep like, if I look at my notes, every other note is about like something Jack Black is doing. And Jack Black is not doing anything that connects to the theme of the movie, that connects to the intelligence of the movie. He's just doing something stupid. Like when they're trying to go, eventually Jack Black is evading the police and they have to go get the car. And Jack Black is great at, as he says, escaping. And so he jumps over a railing and falls in a very like physical comedy way. And that's not the funny part, but the funny part is him laying on the ground going, Sean, go get the Bronco and come back for me. And like Sean goes, okay. And he goes, dude, promise me. like he's not gonna come back for him. And he's like, okay. Yeah, I feel like there's not that much more I have to say about it.
Yeah, we can talk about Catherine O'Hara is great as the mother. It is so obviously like adjacent to her very famous character in Schitt's Creek.
Yeah, and it's a character that she's performed well her entire career.
Time and time again,
If you look at every one of the Christopher Guest movies, she can play a version of this character.
Yeah.
She's great.
She's so great. Hot take, I didn't really care for Schitt's Creek.
Schitt's Creek, I feel like everyone got super into it for a time, and Giselle and I watched all but the last season. And that's because we caught up to it before the last season came out and sort of just lost interest. Not because it was bad, but because it was like, this show is consistently solid. And it just wasn't enough that it was like grabbed us like, I have to come back, you know?
Yeah. However, The Office apparently is doing some kind of reboot.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, that's really all I have to say, Dale.
All right, so I guess we should get to some facts.
Please.
I want the truth!
Face the facts, ducks.
Facts have no place with an organized religion.
Start with our ratings. IMDb gives this a 6.2 out of 10. On the tomato meter for Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 47% with an average rating of 5.2 out of 10, 57 fresh reviews, and 65 rotten. The audience score was 61% with an average score of 3.5 out of 5. It had a budget of $18 million and it grossed $43.3 million. So solid, but it was, obviously a smaller movie. It was directed. Well, I guess before I get into the director, I should point out all like the little nepotism connections in this movie. Not that like, I don't think people got these parts because of nepotism inherently, but there's a lot of people who are more famous people adjacent. So Colin Hanks, his father is obviously Tom Hanks.
Mm-hmm. Tom Hanks is everybody's father. He's America's father.
Skylar Fisk, who plays the girlfriend Ashley, is the daughter of Sissy Spacek.
I don't know who that is.
Yes, you do. Carrie.
Oh, okay. You pronounce that Skylar?
Yeah. How do you pronounce it?
Skylar?
Skylar or Schuler. Reach out to us and let us know how it's pronounced.
Yeah, please let us know. We're confused. Okay, go on.
And the director of the movie, Jake Kasdan, his father is Lawrence Kasdan, who wrote Raiders of the Lost Ark, The Big Chill, and Star Wars Episodes 5, 6, and 7. But let me get back into that. It was directed by Jake Kasdan, who also directed
6, and 7.
They came back to him for The Force Awakens, and he was like, I just have to write the same movie? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to talk about it, but okay, interesting.
But Jake Kasdan has gone on to direct. He directed some of the show Freaks and Geeks. He directed Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story. And to bring it back to Jack Black, Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, and Jumanji, The Next Level were also directed by him. The movie was written by Mike White, who has a cameo in this as the English teacher, who also wrote School of Rock, Nacho Libre, The Emoji Movie, and The White Lotus.
Lots of misses until he got his big hit, huh?
First of all, School of Rock and Nacho Libre are not misses.
School of Rock is great. I didn't see Nacho Libre, The Emoji Movie, I guess, is what I was referring to.
It seems like with Mike White, if you look at his IMDb, there's a lot of one for the studios, one for himself. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But you gotta play the game, I'm sure. He also competed on The Amazing Race with his dad.
That's a dream of mine. I think Corey and I would crush The Amazing Race.
I guess. I would do terribly. I have no sense of direction. I'd be like, what do I do?
Yeah. We're also like, honestly, I have no sense of direction either. And also we're very Jewish. Like I couldn't be like, get dirty.
Okay, that's a weird stereotype you just created.
No, it's not. I would not sleep outside. I'm not digging in no dirt. Like I can't do it.
Okay. Let's get to the movie stars Colin Hanks as Sean, who you may also know from King Kong, Untraceable, The House Bunny, and a TV show. I'm going to connect this. A Friend of the Family, which is the Peacock show, which was based on the Broberg family, who we talked about last week on The Lovely Bones, which was the family where the daughter was kidnapped multiple times by a family friend who was also involved with the parents in an affair. And he was the dad in that show.
Wow. Also, he was a page in That Thing You Do.
Yes, who could forget?
Also, brother of Chet Hanks.
Yes, let's not forget about Chet Hanks.
Of course.
Who is obviously the Lance of the Hankses.
Yes.
Jack Black stars as Lance, who you may also know from School of Rock, Kung Fu Panda, and the Super Mario Brothers movie. Skylar Fisk as Ashley, who you may know from Snow Day, Sam and Kate, and that episode of Law and Order SVU where she throws her baby in the trash and Stabler yells at her and calls her trash.
Wait, can I just say the entire movie? I was like, this really looks like the girl from Snow Day. That's so crazy, and did no further research. But damn, I was right.
Yes, I think like Snow Days are like other most famous thing than this. But
yeah, because I also was like, she kind of gives me like that Hoku vibe. Like, remember the girl who sang Another Dumb Blonde, which was the song from Snow Day? Yes, you do. I was like, wow, like she just reminds me of like the girl from Snow Day and that song. And like, yeah, no shit.
If you've seen that episode of Law and Order SVU, though, oh my God, Stabler goes off on this woman. He goes, you threw your baby in the trash when there's a firehouse right there where you could have gave the baby away with no trouble at all because you're a piece of trash. Like, and it's just like, Christopher Maloney just going all in on this woman.
Christopher Maloney is sexy.
It's wild that he never won an Emmy.
I know. And also, like, I don't think he knows how sexy. And as somebody who has worked with him in person, I'm like, God, like, you shouldn't be sexy.
Realize he's sexy. I think Christopher
Maloney's they brought him back for that reason.
Yeah.
He has, but not an Emmy.
And I'm not going to list all the things you know these people from, but also in this movie and people who are great and hilarious are John Lithgow, Catherine O'Hara, Lily Tomlin, Leslie Mann, Chevy Chase, Fran Kranz, Nat Faxon, Lizzie Kaplan, Harold Ramis, Gary Marshall, Ben Stiller, and Kevin Kline. Colin Hanks also was nominated for an MTV Movie Award for Breakthrough Male Performance. He lost to Orlando Bloom for Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring, which seems weird that like they were nominated together, but okay.
Yeah, weird.
The critics' consensus, smarter than the average teen movie, but a little on the unmemorable side. I'm going to read some reviews here. I feel like I found more harsh ones than good ones, but first let's start with Roger Ebert, who gave it 3 stars from the Chicago Sun-Times. One of those movies like Ghost World and Legally Blonde where the description can't do justice to the experience. I don't know if Gab agrees there, so we'll see where that comes from in the verdicts. Desson Thompson from the Washington Post. This movie is less than nothing special. Peter Bradshaw from The Guardian. This is mostly weak stuff with a timid and reactionary final message about how it's better to stay in your hometown rather than go for a big city college education, which I feel like is not the message of the movie, but okay. Mark Ronner from the Seattle Times. This may be the dumbest, sketchiest movie on record about an aspiring writer's coming of age. Not often you see a critic use the word sketchy.
Yeah.
And Bob Longino from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. This is a movie for every single high school senior in America who has just completed or is right now going through the process of applying to college. Want to hear some fun facts?
You know I do.
Jack Black compared his character Lance to Jeff Spicoli from Fast Times at Ridgemont High and also called him an amalgamation of all the stoners he ever knew growing up. Jack Black and Mike White were neighbors when he wrote this, and he wrote the part specifically for Jack Black.
Wow.
Every time you see someone who has a copy of Sean's story, it's actually just a copy of the movie script.
Funny.
Which makes sense because his story is also called Orange County. And not a lot of fun facts here. The last one I got, allegedly considered for the role of Sean was Justin Long.
Oh, that would make sense, I suppose.
I feel like it totally makes sense. And he starred in his own, like, I didn't get into the right college movie and accepted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's all the facts I got.
Well, Dylan, I guess we know what time it is.
Yes, indeed. I know what time it is. It's mail time.
Mail time? When you control the mail, you control information.
Mom asked me to ask you if there's any mail for us here by mistake.
What?
We got a couple comments here. First, back from Joyride. This one is from Scotty Cameron. Based on everything said about Joyride, I must note how similar it is to Steven Spielberg's 1971 movie Duel. Do you know what the movie Duel is, Gab?
No, but it sounds like it's similar to Joyride.
Well, it's Steven Spielberg's first film, actually.
Oh.
Where a rogue trucker tries to kill a man who cuts him off on the freeway. Which is awesome.
I'm sorry. I'm going to interrupt you for a second. Do we use audio from Duel in our verdict segment?
We do not.
Okay, never mind then.
Dread. We use audio from Dread.
Thank you.
Heck, we never see what the trucker looks like in Duel outside of him at a gas station, and that's just his cowboy boots. Which wasn't there well, I guess it's not that similar because you do see a lot of him, but isn't there, like, it was during the pandemic that Russell Crowe had a movie where he's just, like, got road rage and is like, I'm gonna fuck this woman up. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Listen, you don't make me talk about Russell Crowe. You know how I feel about Russell Crowe.
I think the movie's called Unhinged, but that's all I'll say about it then. We'll stop. We'll get past that.
Unhinged is my favorite way to describe someone who does something crazy on the internet. I love it. I think it is perfect.
Have you ever been unhinged, Gab?
I've 1,000 times been unhinged, but I'm proud to say I don't think I've ever been unhinged on the internet. And some people will truly become unhinged and then share it with the world. It's truly like the only person I share my unhingedness with is Corey.
I do get that. It's one thing to be privately unhinged and like,
yeah,
we've all been privately unhinged millions of times. It takes a big step to be like, the people have to know. It's like anytime you see a Facebook comment section, there's thousands of people becoming unhinged.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There are two instances that are really my favorite. The first is somebody who becomes unhinged and then posts a selfie of them crying. That's great. Like A plus, like that's world-class unhingedness. But another kind of unhingedness is somebody that takes a picture of something and writes this long rant. Like there's this girl I went to high school with who I think she lives in Florida now. And she's like, I guess her kid has a dairy allergy. And I suppose she's breastfeeding. And so anytime she accidentally consumes something with dairy, she has a meltdown on the internet and will write things like, can somebody tell me if there's dairy in this? And it's like, first of all, Google it. Like, why are you posting that on the internet? But second of all, it's like, I can't believe it because da-da-da. And the person at Starbucks doesn't care and nobody cares and everyone is terrible and da-da-da. And it's like, it is unhinged. It's crazy. It
sounds like she really needs to stay abreast of what she's consuming.
Oh, it does. Good
Every time she has an unhinged rant, she's milking that situation.
Oh, boy. One more. Come on. No, one more. Come on, you could do it.
Oh no, I'm having a cow. I don't know.
Oh, that was good. That was a tertiary one, but it was okay. Yeah. So no, I have become unhinged many times, but never publicly on the internet. I love it though. I live for it. Like, please don't stop being unhinged on the internet.
I think everybody who isn't unhinged on the internet often loves people being unhinged on the internet, but at the same time, the world would be a better place if the internet could contain itself.
Yeah. And, there's a step in the middle that we haven't discussed, which is being unhinged in public, which is now, nowadays with the social media and stuff like that, is significantly less impactful. I have definitely cried.
So old nowadays with the social media.
With the social media. I have cried on the subway a million times. And the only people that see are the people in that subway car. You know what I mean? But like,
they're busy watching that homeless guy piss in the corner anyway.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. I was on the train tonight coming home from Brooklyn, and there was this grandpa with his grandson, and the grandson sat down next to me, and the grandpa was kind of standing over him, and he had this paper coffee cup, and he's sipping it. You could tell that it's like dripping a little bit. And it's like, that shit happens where like it drips because the lid isn't on all the way or whatever. Like, they're not all perfectly manufactured.
Directly onto the grandson?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And like on his bag and on the floor, it was just like a little crazy. And then all of the sudden, seemingly out of nowhere, the bottom of his paper coffee cup just diminishes and the coffee, it just explodes. It's like a waterfall of coffee all over me, all over the kid, all over his bag. And he's like, oh shit, oh shit, oh
At least
shit.
It couldn't have been hot by that point, because I imagine this man must have nursed this cup of coffee for the entirety of the day.
Yes. I mean, it was definitely his cup of coffee with breakfast, and it was like 6:00 at night. But holy shit, I have never seen. And it was sort of like drip, 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 drip. Crazy. Unbelievable.
I'm imagining such a bigger spill than this must have been.
No, you're imagining correctly. Like it was everywhere. And then it drips on it's on the floor, right? And as the train moves and stops, it spreads one way and then the other way. And then everyone's feet are covered in coffee. And he's just going, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit.
I'm picturing like the elevator from The Shining with the blood coming out of it, but it's coffee now. It can't be that much coffee. It was.
How big was this truly that much coffee? It was small. It was like a tall from Starbucks, but it was a lot of coffee. And that's the thing. It was like it just kept coming. I was like, surely this is some kind of reality TV show where he's got like a hose up his sleeve that's just feeding more coffee. But it was crazy. But in that instance, right, here I am talking about it on the podcast. Everybody else on the train around me was also like, what the fuck? I was laughing. I couldn't help myself. Other people were like picking up their bags so they get coffee on it. And he's just continuing to go, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. And like, there are only a handful of us in the world that actually witnessed it. But if that would have been on the internet, everyone would have seen it at some point, you know? So if you're going to be unhinged in public, don't put it on the internet.
I don't think usually the people who are unhinged in public are the ones to put it on the internet. Usually it's somebody who saw an unhinged person in public.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. Also, I do know a lot of people who are very quiet and reserved in person, but very unhinged on the internet.
Yeah, I'm not going to name names, but there's someone I know who is like the nicest person in the world in person and like couldn't hurt a fly. And in public, she is saying the most outlandish, like sometimes pretty far to the right things. And I'm like, oh, no, this isn't you. Don't do this. But
it's crazy. They really do. I know this girl who used to go to the gym that I trained at a couple of years ago. She was a member and she would like come in and she'd be like, hey, how's it going? And like totally normal. She would complain a little bit about the workouts, but she'd like do it. She was kind of annoying, but she wasn't perfect. Right. But then she would like go like take pictures of our boss who was like sitting at the table, like writing on his laptop. And she'd be like, the strong man is here, and like post it on his screen. You were like, we all follow you, right? Like he follows you, the gym follows you, all the trainers follow you. Like this isn't private. Like
it's not like she's hiding it from him.
No, but it's just like, who do you think you're talking to? And what privacy setting do you think you have on? And she'll leave and it'll be like a selfie of her face. And she'll be like, that was the most fucked up workout ever. But like after the workout, she was like, that was pretty good. All right, bye guys.
I wish I had the time to post that much on social media. I don't even have time to post for this podcast on social media.
Yeah, we're hanging on by a thread. But at least we're not unhinged. Anyway, how did we get on this topic?
I mentioned unhinged because it's sort of similar to Duel and Joyride. And we are like a quarter of the way through Scotty's comment. So all right, let's continue.
Let's go.
There is a point where I think Gab confused Paul Walker with Anton Yelchin when she mentioned something about his car crushing him between the gates of his home. Walker was killed after he and Roger Rodas were speeding to the point where they lost control of their vehicle and crashed between a concrete steel lamp and two trees. Then their vehicle exploded, burning them beyond recognition and killing them. That's a lot of detail, Scotty. Too much detail.
Scotty.
Rodas was actually a professional stunt driver, yet still recklessly crashed their car. I mean, maybe that makes more sense for why he thought he could do something like that, but oh man, that's awful.
Wow.
Anton Yelchin died when his car rolled down his steep driveway and crushed him between his brick gate when he was checking the mail. Both actors died in vehicular accidents just 3 years apart, so it can be easy to confuse the two stories.
Yeah, and what was he from? And isn't it Yelich, or is that a baseball player?
You're thinking of Christian Yelich.
Yeah, I am. Okay. Then
Anton Yelchin was a very good actor. He was in the Fright Night remake. He was in the Star Trek movies, the new ones. He was in...
Skinny, right?
Yes, Charlie Bartlett he was in. He was in a movie called Green Room.
Oh, yes, I remember him. Yes. Yeah, he got smooshed.
Oh my God, Gab. I don't like that phrasing. That feels bad. Don't say
Sorry.
that. That's
sorry.
awful.
I'm sorry. He got bamboozled.
Okay, let's move on. We got another comment from Scotty Cameron.
Scotty.
Jesus Christ. This time on the Lovely Bones.
Bamboozled typically means confused or like had the wool pulled over your eyes. So he didn't get bamboozled. I take it back. Unless he was confused when it happened and then he was smooshed and bamboozled.
Well, oh my God. I don't want to keep going on this, but yes, I'm sure he was confused by it. Yes.
Okay, Scotty.
Nobody's like, oh, perfectly normal situation here.
Oh, there comes my car again.
Okay. Scotty on the Lovely Bones. Gab, quote, I want to see a diddle. I want to see a murder. I want to see Stanley Tucci perform a Mortal Kombat fatality. I want to see someone in a saw trap. I want to see Mark Wahlberg end up like Derek Richardson in Hostel.
Yes, all of the above. He's correct.
Didn't Gab just say last episode that she couldn't kill someone because the guilt would destroy her? Now she's getting bloodthirsty on Friday the 13th, wishing to see someone die in the Lovely Bones. I'm just joking around.
Oh, I'm not.
It was funny that episode, the tirade of like, I must see her die.
I wanted to see it.
I know Gab's talking about seeing fictional characters die in here. I agree with the show don't tell argument because showing events makes them more real for the viewers and puts things in perspective for the audience. Sometimes you have a movie like Seven where we don't see a murder until the third act and those murders in the film are effective. Movies like Seven are a rarity, though. That does make me think that maybe having Mark Wahlberg go to Michael Imperioli and Stanley Tucci and say, what's in the safe? What's in the fucking safe? Would have made a better climax for the movie. Oh, I guess that would have been their version of what's in the box. Yeah, that definitely would have worked better. Funny that Mark Wahlberg and Stanley Tucci are both in this movie because they both were in Michael Bay's last two Transformers movies, which I've never seen the Mark Wahlberg ones, but I know that like they just look awful.
Yeah.
I don't know. Giselle has such a soft spot for the first Transformers movie, and I'm like, it's trash.
So does my friend Kristen. Like, she'll fuck around and be like, Transformers is my favorite movie. And I'm like, what?
I get there's definitely a nostalgia aspect because it came out right when we were in high school. I'm sure it's a movie that you saw in theaters probably and like had a great time seeing it. But like, yeah, it was never a thing for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those were also the Transformers movies which earned Michael Bay the toxic fandom touch of death and saved the franchise. That confuses me. I guess by killing Michael Bay for the franchise, it saved the franchise. So good on Mark Wahlberg and Stanley Tucci for starring in the Transformers movies that were so awful that Michael Bay is no longer allowed within a mile of the franchise, and the franchise is making better movies as a result. Lastly, in my big email, I thought the toys all over Josh's apartment room were ones he bought with his own money, while the ones he played with in his office were what the company gave him as the toy tester. I guess I could have been wrong about the ones in his apartment or not. The beauty of art is that's all to interpretation. Well, I don't recall him having that many toys in his apartment. I feel like he has the big inflatable, the trampoline, and he has the pinball machine. But yeah, Scotty's probably right. He probably bought those things for himself.
Yeah, 100%. I thought he meant the toys at the desk, but no, the like Pepsi Cola. Who says Pepsi Cola? The Pepsi vending machine and all the what else did he have? The trampoline.
Said the Pepsi Cola on the social medias now.
Yeah. You know that Pepsi Cola. You know, this today I said something that Corey thought was ridiculous and I didn't bother to Google it, which I guess is something that I've complained about the unhinged people not doing, but I want to say it out loud just to see what you think. I said I thought that Nike was owned by the same like suits that own like Pepsi and McDonald's. Like, isn't there like a bigger company that owns like every other big company that you know?
I don't think that that's a mistake to think that because there are a lot of major conglomerates like that.
Yes.
Like you'd be shocked if you look up how many things are owned by, General Electric. You know what I mean?
Right. Yes.
Like,
Johnson & Johnson or whatever.
Yes. All of the major movie studios fall under some bigger ownership of some other thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't think that's an unreasonable thing to think, but Nike, I don't think is owned by anyone else.
Okay. Well, thank you for at least making me feel better. Anyway, continue.
You're not entirely crazy on Unhinged yet.
Thank you.
We have one email we're going to get to right now from the one and only Keen Machine.
Keen Machine.
About the Lovely Bones. Greetings, Dylan and Gab. Never seen this movie, and frankly, the topic sounds way too depressing and uncomfortable for something I would probably ever choose to watch.
Pause. Here's the problem, Keen. It's not. And it should be, but it's not. And that's our problem with it.
The problem is we weren't depressed enough. We were having an okay time watching this bad movie.
This young girl was playing with dogs and running and riding on rainbows and shit, and there were no murders.
Yeah, the family is somewhat depressed, but Susie is like, great to be dead.
Yeah, she's like, being dead's the best.
Yeah. But I do love Stanley Tucci. I've been rewatching The Hunger Games to prepare for the new film coming out, and he does such an excellent job at bringing Caesar Flickerman to life, perfectly balancing his roles as both the face of the Capitol's propaganda machine and a lifeline for the tributes who are trying to get sponsors to stay alive. But I digress. Are you a Hunger Games fan?
No, I've never seen any of them, but I feel like I will. I starred in that College Humor Hunger Games spoof video. Remember when College Humor was like the thing?
Yeah.
I starred in the Hunger Games game.
The board game it was in the video, right?
Yeah. But I don't remember. I'd never seen the Hunger Games, and I was also like 10 years older than every other girl that was in it. It was me and two other girls, and they were all like, yeah, my mom picked me up from school to take me here. And I was like, oh, I'm in college.
You were like, I heard about this on the social media.
Yeah. All their parents had to be there and like on set for like all the SAG rules and whatever. And I was just like, I'm going to go to craft services and get a coffee.
Magazine.
Yeah. It was crazy.
Yeah, you know what? I think I saw all but the last Hunger Games movie in the theaters. And I will say, I think the first one is actually really good. Yeah. I will say, if I think of Stanley Tucci, that is the first thing I think of, is the Hunger Games
Not
movie.
The Devil Wears Prada?
I've seen the Hunger Games movies more than the Devil Wears Prada. And it's just like, it stands out seeing him with like the giant blue wig and everything.
Yeah, that's fair. Wait, so have you seen The Devil Wears Prada?
Yeah, but only, I think, once or twice, probably. Not a bunch of times.
Okay.
It's not a movie that I'm often like, ooh, I've got the day to myself. Let me rewatch The Devil Wears Prada.
I hear you, but I'm also like always blown away to hear how many straight men enjoy that movie.
It's a good movie. It's not somehow yesterday we were talking about miscongeniality, and I was like, we should do that on the podcast. And I was like, you already did. And I was like, fuck, and she didn't say yes. Because that's a movie that I'm always by myself. Like, I don't think of it as like a very like strict action movie, testosterone, but I'm like, oh, I love that movie. That movie's great.
Yeah. That's so funny. I feel like at some point we should force one another to revisit one movie. Not one of the ones that we've already said that we'd go back on, but I feel like we could do an episode where like independently, like you watch the one that I make you watch and I watch the one that you make me watch, and then we discuss. That way we each only have to watch one movie, but we can like see if we've changed our minds.
I don't picture it going well. I don't picture us changing our minds, Gab.
I don't know. Like, we should try it one day. Listener, tell Dylan I have a good idea. Thank you. Anyway,
perhaps.
Keen.
We shall see. Or perhaps your bad ideas are dripping out like the coffee cup slowly to spill out all over the both of us on this podcast.
It could go either way. Oh shit.
Hoping this week's film involves less child abduction and more, I don't know, anything else. The good news is it does. There is no child abduction in this movie. So that's a big change for us in the past month.
Although there is, I think someone gets abducted, right? Or held against their will?
Maybe mildly. It's much more mild, and they're an adult, so that's fine.
Yeah.
We're fine
There's
with adult.
no diddling, though.
It's not kidnapping, it's adult napping, and that's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Adult napping is my favorite hobby.
God damn it. I love that. That's so stupid.
Thank you.
Okay. By the way, we are getting close to Halloween. So in that spirit, what are your personal Halloween traditions? There's a second question, so I'll say that first. Any personal Halloween traditions?
Not really. I love Halloween and I love getting dressed up, but I in my maybe like last 5 to 7 years really haven't done it because I always work, or it's a weeknight, or I don't really drink. I don't drink. I haven't had a drink in over 2 years, but like even before that, I didn't like drink a lot. And so I just kind of never really did anything. Although when I worked for Cycle Bar, I would teach theme classes and dress up in a costume, but that was really about it. What about you?
I very much was like super into trick-or-treating as a kid. Like I trick-or-treated until senior year of high school. And then I still was in costume, I feel like, in college during Halloween. I obviously haven't worn a costume in a long time. I'm too old for that shit. But I still, like, on Halloween, I'm definitely, especially if it's the weekend, I'm definitely the person who would be like, oh no, let's watch a bunch of scary movies. You know what I mean? Let's do something like that. Sure. But yeah, I don't like have any hardcore traditions, especially this year. It's going to be on a weekday. So it's like, I'll be working. Yeah.
Do you guys get any trick-or-treaters?
No, I mean, we're in an apartment building. It'd be weird if we did. I mean, there's a baby next door. Maybe he'll like stop by. I don't know. I don't think so.
We don't either. The New York City kids mostly trick or treat at like local businesses and stuff.
Yeah, if we do, it's going to turn into that Big Daddy situation where it's basically a shakedown. Like, he likes your watch. Give him your watch.
Yeah.
And the second question Keen asked, what was your favorite Halloween costume you ever wore?
Well, my favorite one that I ever wore was I dressed up one year in college as Katy Perry from the California Girls music video, like the candy costume.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about? And I actually went with my friend on this like boat cruise, costume cruise thing. So we bought tickets and you get a wristband and you have like one free drink or whatever. And I was like on a diet. I was acting at the time. So I was on a diet as usual. So I was like, I'm not going to eat anything. I'm only going to have one glass of wine. Like, that's it. So I had one glass of wine. I wound up getting roofied.
Oh, this is a terrible story.
I know. But here's the kicker. The costume contest went off and they called me because they said I won. But I was so fucked up that I couldn't find where they all were. So then I didn't show up in time. So they gave the $500 prize to second place.
Do you know what second place was?
No, I don't remember. I don't really remember anything.
Were you able to get home safe that night at least?
I was, yeah. So my friend also got roofied, but we were able to. I do remember being in the boat.
Oh my God.
Like the kitchen of the boat with the staff. But I also remember like she found me. We actually wore these blue light up bracelets so we could find each other. So we found each other and were able to get home. And I almost drowned in the bathtub because I was like throwing up into the tub while the water was running. I woke up on the couch in my wet vomit covered Katy Perry costume. It was really bad. But I was fine.
Yeah, not a fun story with your favorite Halloween costume, but I'm glad you ended up okay.
I think then my second favorite, I don't know. I feel like I always pick duds.
I'm just going to list off a couple. Zach and I, there was a string of like 5 or 6 years where during middle school, they'd have like a Halloween dance and there was always a costume contest. And for 6 or 8 years, 5 or 6 straight years, Zach and I won.
Of course.
And it was because I feel like my mom took more pride in us winning that costume contest than even we did. So I think Zach was Dr. Evil, Austin Powers, and which really speaks to the time of when this was.
Yeah.
And Abraham Lincoln. I think we repurposed one of those because I was Mr. Peanut one year. Which definitely I feel like once I took off like the peanut board type thing that was like covering my body, I probably just looked like I had jaundice. I was Mr. Peanut. I think I also was Abraham Lincoln, and I was a member of the Blue Man Group, which was basically
I remember
just like,
that
I was painted entirely blue, which was very uncomfortable near the eyes. I was like, stop it.
I remember that though.
Yeah, I had the bald cap and everything, and I was spitting out ping pong balls at people. But yeah, I would say those were definitely my favorites. Those were definitely the most effort put into Halloween costumes.
Yeah. You know, I think my problem was that my parents were very much like Party City, just like pick out your costume and we'll call it a day. And I was like, I wanted to be creative, but also like there were years when I would wait till like the day before and be like, well, now what? You know, I never really got an opportunity to like put in some thought. Corey and I really want to be Hercules and Meg, but like, oh, you gotta fucking buy the thing and it's like that weird foam and then you don't end up going anywhere. It's just like, you know.
Here's a question I'm going to add on to Keen's thing real quick, because all he said after that was, until the next, keep it Keen Machine. What's the laziest Halloween costume you've ever done?
Okay, so one year, I'm going to tell you straight the fuck up. One year, I was probably in like 6th or 7th grade. I didn't know if my friends were like too cool to do something for Halloween, so we didn't really make plans. And then at the last minute, we decided we were going to. So Kristen said, why don't we go as goth, like girls? So I was like, okay. So I went home and I got black jeans. I put on a black shirt and like black fishnet gloves with black lipstick and black eyeliner. And that was it.
There was one year where I feel like we were going to a Halloween party and I was like, this is all I'm doing. I cut the sleeves off of a Patriots hoodie. I put on like a headset that I had for like work at the time. And I had like a clipboard and I was like, I'm Bill Belichick. There it is. That's it.
Yeah. It's lazy.
That's definitely like the
We've all
laziest
been
thing I
there.
ever did. Yeah.
We've all been there.
Where it's like, make it Halloween, but make it in 5 minutes. Yeah.
That's like, I just saw a meme today that had Jim from The Office when he put 3 black dots on his white shirt. He was like, I'm a die.
He was a 3-punch hole Jim.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
And then one year he just writes face on his face and he's Facebook. No.
Right.
Is that what it is? I think that's what it was. I don't remember. But
no, he put book on his face. He wrote book on his face. Yeah.
There's a couple of Halloween Office episodes where he does something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Remember when he was Popeye though? That was sweet.
When he was forced to be Popeye, yes. And
but
Pam was olive
it.
oil. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's all I got.
All right.
Yeah, I think we do. Our Halloween episode, I think, is going to be the one for Alien and Aliens. So that'll be exciting. At least those are scary.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to Christmas too, when we get to do Christmas Vacation.
Oh God. Okay. I hope I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. And I do think that, listener, you should tell Dylan that my idea is a good idea about revisiting movies.
We'll see.
Okay.
Anyway, should we get back to Orange County?
Let's do it.
Do or do not. There is no try.
The guilty will be punished.
Sentence
is death.
I don't know why I feel like there was going to be a theme song for like Mighty Morphin Verdict Time. I feel like the reviews of this were very harsh. I'm going to go first because this was my movie. I think that this is such a relatable movie for anyone who has graduated high school, who thinks that what is going on in their life right now, this decision they're making is the most important decision in their life. I think it's a very relatable movie. I think we all went through a time like this. And I think it does a great job of painting that message that Sean says at the end, that it's not about, being at Stanford to be the writer I need to be. It's about being around the people who inspire you. And I think something you find more and more as you go on in life is that it's not about what you do, it's about who you do the things with. And so I think this is a movie to watch before you die. And I think it is a much more clever, let's use real words here, Dylan. It's a much more clever movie than I think critics gave it credit for back in 2002. Gab, what say ye?
So I'm just curious still, because we've been doing this for a long time now. When you rewatched this movie, what did you think I was going to think?
Well, I know you've been harsh to stoner comedies before, but I wouldn't call this a stoner comedy.
Sure.
But I think it's relatable. And I quite frankly, I'm thinking about what I think. I'm not thinking about what you think.
I'm just curious if you watched it sometimes, like with The Lovely Bones. I watched it and I thought, oh yeah, no, he's not going to like this. And I don't like this. Right. But even if I loved it, I could have been like, yeah, no, Dylan's going to hate this. Just because now I feel like I have such a more intimate understanding of what you like and dislike about movies. So I was just curious as to what you thought I was going to think.
I think I'm always willing to give it a shot. And I think by what you're telling me, I'm thinking you're about to say no. But I think that you also compared it to Arrested Development. So who knows? But, I'm floundering here. I feel like.
All right. Well, let me just spit it out then. I love Arrested Development. Yeah. I think there is something about someone who is like perceived as sane and the craziness of their family around them. And I love the way that you can kind of see them, like you can like see in moments like, oh yeah, you are definitely a part of this family. Like it or not, you are just as crazy as the rest of them, even if you think that you are more sane or you think that you are sane. You know what I mean? Like when you think about Tom Hanks, when you think about
Colin Hanks,
thank you. His character like going through what he's going through to get into this college when it's kind of not the end of the world. It's like, oh yeah, you are just as crazy as your mother and your father and your brother and whatever. So I was set up for success. However, I told you the two parts of this movie that I thought were funny. Watch Your Fingers and the little kicks. Like the rest of it did not speak to me. And it felt a little like cheap humor that like a teenage boy would like. I don't know. I didn't care for it. And I really wanted to. And I love Jack Black. I think he is so funny and physical. I love Colin Hanks. It just didn't do it for me. I'm sorry.
Gab, you've taken me on a roller coaster ride in the past 25 seconds because I felt very much on the side of like, definitely no. And then as you talked, I was like, maybe yes.
I know.
I'm disappointed because I feel like you misled me earlier. You said there were 2 moments that really made me laugh, which made me think like, oh, these were the 2 funniest moments amongst other funny moments. You didn't say these are the only 2 times I laughed.
Well, I am taking a page out of your book because you always do this to me. So
I don't always.
Listen, I wanted to be as objective as I could, or like as not obvious as I could. I'm not telling you I hated it. I wasn't offended by it. Okay. I just it was very much like a 2002 comedy written for teenage boys. And as much as I love 2002, I wasn't a teenage boy then, and I'm not a teenage boy now. And as much as there wasn't any like of the sexual, like that sort of like teenage boys love boobies kind of thing, like it just, I don't know, it just didn't, I didn't find it all that funny. And I don't think it's a little
smarter than you're giving it credit for. Maybe
it's like definitely slightly, yes, but I don't think it was like any funnier than I'm giving it credit for.
Okay.
Well, and by the end, it kind of felt like nothing happened.
Well, obviously they've gone on a journey, but he ends up back in the same place with a greater understanding of what is important. That it's not about getting to this place, but it's about, he can be a great writer, not by going to Stanford, but by being around the people who inspire him.
Yeah. But then he like puts down the book and like stops writing and like goes back to surfing. And it's kind of just like this message of like,
I think you're misreading that. I think he puts down the book, one, to inspire somebody else, and he goes back to surfing because what makes him a great writer is his life experience and being surrounded by those people. Do you get what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's been a long time since my screenwriting classes, but a lot of writing comes from life experience and research and understanding.
Sure. 100%. I just think I just threw my AirPod case on the floor. I just think I don't know.
Gab, calm down.
I didn't love it.
Stop throwing things.
God damn it, Dylan. I just didn't love it. I don't know. I didn't care for it. I didn't think it was all that funny.
All right. I am disappointed, but I understand that is your opinion.
Yeah.
Well.
Nice try.
Yeah. Auf Wiedersehen. Bye. No, I'm just kidding. Gab, what are the things we say at the end of this thing?
You should let us know what you think. Email us at moviestowatchbeforeyoudie@gmail.com. Send a voice note at anchor.fm/movies-to-watch. You could send a voice note to us via Instagram, or you could send a voice note via email. You can email via voice note. You can call us up on the telephone, and you can add a note in the section of the little send a message on Venmo.
Yeah, that was not a good explanation. You gave too much. Yeah, but you can do those things. You can subscribe. You can like our posts. You can follow us on your podcast platforms and all that stuff. Gab, have you picked out a movie yet, or am I putting you too much on the spot?
Yeah, no, I haven't. Let me listen. I've been thinking about this a lot, and I want to defend myself on something really quickly. Although nobody has put me in a position where I need to defend myself, I'm going to anyway, preemptively. Okay. Whenever I look at my list of movies, so many of them are movies that you've already seen and movies that I know before even going in that you and I both love. And on your end, you have a whole list of movies that I've like never even heard of, never mind never seen. So I feel like every time I try to pick a movie that you haven't seen, it winds up being like a Lovely Bones, where I'm like, oh, this movie sucks. Because I'm thinking about a movie that I saw once and remembered really liking. So as much as I want to pick a movie that is like so good and like a movie to watch before you die, I feel like I'm going to end up picking something that like everyone has seen and like we've all already agreed we love. So I try to find those like diamonds in the rough that Dylan has never seen or that are like little known gems. But they're hard to come by. So just I don't want everyone to think I have bad taste in movies.
Listen, I'm doing the same thing here. If I just wanted to pick movies we both like, we could pick some great movies. If I just wanted to pick movies you haven't seen, which at some point I'm going to have to do like a month of movies Gab hasn't seen that are just great. And that like obviously are movies to watch before you die. Because the movie I keep going back to is like, we got to do the fucking Goonies. But like, I'm like, the Goonies is so obvious, but you've never seen it.
I'm probably going to hate it.
Oh, that makes me so sad. Don't say it, but maybe you will. But
I might.
Yeah, that's my feeling is I'm trying to think of movies that I think are movies to watch before you die that you haven't seen.
Yeah. Well, all right. I'll have to get back to you.
Come back next week for a movie to be determined later.
For a movie that you might need to watch before you die.
For a movie that you might die before we watch.
For a movie that you may die before it finishes.
For a movie, watch you die before we may.
For a movie that might be on while you die.
If you're getting murdered and this movie's on, let us know.
Then, yeah, please write in.
If you know a loved one who died while watching Orange County,
you may be entitled to financial compensation.
If your loved one got mesothelioma at a showing of Orange County, call Gab's Venmo.
What's Corey's here, and I'm like, what's the other thing we say as if he can hear you? Transvaginal mesh.
If you have a structured settlement and you need cash now, call Orange County. 877 Orange County.
877 cash now. Ooh, how did we get here? All right. Listen, subscribe, movies, Venmo.
That's Shane Brainerd's transcript.
And you are?
Sean Brumder. No, you didn't. You couldn't have. You sent in the wrong transcript?